Hello, how are you? A little awkward to start off the podcast. Hey, welcome to Riffs and Body Slams, episode number 56. Yes, I'm your host, G-Mo, recorded from the beautiful suburbs of Chicago, Illinois. Oh yeah, it's another edition of Riffs and Body Slams, meaning more news in the world of rock, hard rock, and heavy metal, and pro wrestling. Yes. Oh, man, a lot of news to catch up to. By the way, if you kept up with my social media, which is on Twitter, which is owned by Elon Musk now, if that makes a difference. I don't know. I got to check it out, see what's going on with that and the Elon Musk deal with Twitter. But where can you find me on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube? 2 YouTube pages. But let's talk about my first one, Riffs and Body Slams in all 3. And then follow me on my second YouTube page, Riffs and Body Slams Plus. You got to add the plus at the very end. It's my second YouTube page. And send me an email if you're a good old-fashioned emailer, riffsandbodyslams@gmail.com. Send me your thoughts, opinions, corrections, wherever the hell do you want to send me. All right? So, without further ado, before I move on, you and me, very quickly, how are you? You doing good? Are you ready for the weekend? Or do you have to work on the weekend? It's all cool. I just want to say thank you for taking your very own time to listen to this fine podcast, as always. And if you're a new listener, hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss an episode each and every week. If you're a daily listener, thank you very much. And as I mention each and every podcast, I want to highlight you, the listener. Send me your name, where you're from. That's it. No money, no nothing. Just want to recognize you if you're a loyal listener. Put your name on the podcast. And again, thank you. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and give you a quick rundown on this podcast episode. We'll talk about Mick Mars retiring from Motley Crue. John 5. Yes, he is going to be replacing Mick Mars. We'll get a little bit more in details shortly on that. We'll talk about the Pantera shows. Yeah, there's a show that's sold out in South America. Which country is being sold out? And what's going to happen beyond past that? I think they're going to get a little upgrade. We'll talk about that shortly. And what else we're going to talk about? Oh, yeah, pro wrestling, the CM Punk drama that's going on between himself and AEW. We'll talk about that as well. Also, we'll talk about the news in the world pro wrestling as well. And so much more. Let's get on to the riffs portion of the show. Lots to talk about, shall we? All right, welcome to the riffs portion of the show where I talk about all things rock, hard rock, and heavy metal. If you love all things rock and roll, well, this portion is for you. All right, let's talk about touring really quick. So let's talk about this festival that's going down in Tempe, Arizona, going down on February 25th and 26th. 2023. So look like the headliners for Saturday. You're going to get Green Day, Weezer, the Black Crowes, the Offsprings. Let's see what else we got. The Pretty Recklesses and more. And then Sunday, you're going to get Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam headlining that Sunday. Bunch of other artists are playing that Sunday. Look like they're Lollapalooza type bands, so I'm not too sure. But if you're interested in this style of a festival that's going down to Arizona, if you're going to be in the area around February 25th and 26th of 2023, go check it out. All right, metalheads, this package of a tour is awesome. So High on Fire announces their U.S. Tour. They're bringing with Municipal Waste, great band, the band Gel, G-E-L, and Early Moods. So great touring package here, folks. Starts on December 1st in Hampton Beach, New Hampshire. and cruises right down to December 11th at Tampa, Florida. So it looks like it's mainly on the East Coast tour throughout December, but it's a hell of a tour package. High on Fire and Municipal Waste. Hell of a tour. All right, so here's another festival that's going down on Memorial Day weekend. It's called the Adjacent Festival. This is happening on May 27th and 28th on the beach at Atlantic City, New Jersey. And it's pretty stacked if you're a fan of the pop punk days of the early 2000s, just like the We Were Young Festival. So on this Adjacent Festival, Blink-182, Paramore, Turnstile, Coheed and Cambria, Jimmy Eats World. What else we got on here? Knock Loose is on here. Motion City Soundtrack, Water Parks. Yeah, man, this is mostly a pop punk type of festival that's going down at Atlantic City, New Jersey, May 27th through the 28th, Memorial Day weekend, the Adjacent Festival. So go check it out. All right, speaking of another awesome tour for the metalcore fans out there, man, this is not hitting the Chicago market. Hopefully, though, this band will be in the Chicago market, hopefully by summer. But the legendary Parkway Drive returns, finally. They're hitting some major markets. They're going to be doing a 2023 Darker Still U.S. tour. And they're bringing with Memphis May Fire and Currents. Great two bands opening up. Trek starts in Los Angeles, California. Look like it's in January 31st. Ends in Orlando, Florida, February 18th. So it's a late January, early to mid-February tour for Parkway Drive. So no Milwaukee, no Chicago, no Michigan. I think the closest for the Midwest is going to be St. Louis at the Pageant on February 7th, in Columbus, Ohio. So if you live in the Midwest like myself here in the United States, if you want to travel, St. Louis is probably your best options, or unless you want to travel to Columbus, Ohio, or Nashville, Tennessee at the Marathon Music Works. So a nice little car drive. You want to check out Parkway Drive with Memphis May Fire and Currents. Hopefully they'll bring their full pyro tour, fireworks and all, but we'll have to wait and see. But good to see the boys from Australia back here in the U.S. to do a tour. Hopefully they'll do a bigger tour in the summer. All right, the band Incubus announces the 2023 tour dates. And what I mean by 2023 tour dates, only 4 dates, just like the Eagles, the classic rock band, the Eagles. Here's the tour dates, but it's only 5 dates. Well, the Incubus only has 3 Texas dates and in Louisiana. So Corpus Christi, San Antonio, Texas, Houston, and New Orleans. Going down January 31st all the way up to February 4th. 4 dates. If you live in Texas or Louisiana, check out Incubus. All right, so got you up to speed on touring dates. Let's talk about New Music Friday. Oh, yeah. The first Friday of November. Oh, man, I can't believe it's already in November. Man, this year is flying by so fast. All right, November, by the way, with the list I will give you, I give these guys credit, loudwire.com/2022 Hard Rock Metal Album Release Calendar. They get the credit. They put the list together. I'm just going to give you guys the bands on the list. Go out and support the bands, buy the records, download it, whatever you want. And let's start from the top in alphabetical order, starting with 96 Better Beings, Synergy Restored. By the way, 96 Better Beings is the alternate of CKY. If you know that band, check them out. I kind of grew up on these guys, but apparently it's like, I'm not sure if it's Darren Miller The vocalist from CKY, I'm not sure because of the legalities of the naming rights. I think they have to start their own band called 96 Better Beings, which is a great song. All right, moving on next on this November 4th, New Music Friday releases. The band Avoid has Cult Metality. Black Anvil has Regenis. Black Mirrors have Tomorrow Will Be Without Us. The band Botch, We Are the Romans re-release. All right, Broken Love has Black Box. I know this band Dayseeker has Dark Sun. The Great Man, Devin Towson has Daylight. The band Delusion has AM. Dragon Hammer has Second Life. Fleshwater has We're Not Here to Be Loved. All right. Hey, Frank Bello. I assume from the bass player of Anthrax, he has his own solo album? Maybe? Well, Frank Bello has the Then I'm Gone EP. I gotta check it out. Ingested has the new record called Ashes Lie Still. The band Mord a Stigma has Like Ants of Snakes. The Offering has Seen the Elephants. The Pretty Reckless has Other Worlds. The band Rambo has Defy Extinction. Stranger Vision has Wasteland. Legendary Christian band Switchfoot has This Is Our Christmas Album. Voidbringer has Wasteland EP. And the legendary Thrashers Void has their next EP called Ultra Man. So there's your November 4th new music releases. My personal pick. I'm going to stick with 96 Better Beings. I've been listening to these guys for, again, CKY back in the early 2000s. So I'm going to give them a try. What else stands out? Maybe Dayseeker. That's it. Not a whole lot. I'm going to check out the Frank Bello, see what's going on with that. Looking ahead for November. Still got some awesome releases. Yes, we still got more good records coming out. Re-releases, new records. Smashing Pumpkins in the month of November. What else we got? New Chelsea Grin. For all the death metal fans out there, or deathcore, whatever the hell you want to call it. What else we got? Mick Jaguars. That's what, not Mick Jagger, Mick Jaguars. I'd never heard of that band. Yeah, that's it, man. We're going to be cruising into December and looking through December if anything pops out right now. Don't see anything popping out for the month of December. Fit for an Autopsy's coming out. Nothing too crazy. But yeah, November 4th, go out and support these bands. Check out their websites. Streaming on your, whatever you get your music from, Spotify, Apple Music. Buy the damn CD in a store. If you got any record stores nearby, support them if you do. All right, let's talk about news. The big news. Motley Crue has officially recruited John 5 as the new guitarist following Mick Mars' decision to no longer tour with the band. So big news. Obviously, if you've been listening to my previous podcast, I talked about as this story became a rumor. Eventually, this rumor grew and grew and grew. A lot of insiders in the industry, the music industry, was pretty much confirming, yeah, this is really happening. Well, the band finally announced on their social media, the Motley Crue social media, and I won't read the whole thing, but and again, I'm going to read it, at least the important ones from this statement. All right, and I quote, "While change is never easy, we accept Mick's decision to retire from the band due to the challenges with his health. We managed to watch Mick manage his ankylosing spondylitis for decades, and he has always managed it with the utmost courage and grace." So they also said in this statement, and I quote, "We will carry out Mick's wishes, continue the tour of the world as planned for 2023. No doubt it will take an absolutely outstanding musician to fill Mick's shoes, So we are grateful that our good friend John 5 has agreed to come on board and join moving forward. So how about that? Man, Mick Mars is going to be stepping down. Now, that doesn't mean Mick Mars is not part of Motley Crue. He's going to be part of Motley Crue until Motley Crue's done. Like, no more. They said that a couple years ago, and look, they came back. Fans that know the history of Motley Crue tried to attempt to retire from touring. They did the whole final tour. Now, listeners knows about, or I should say fans that are familiarized with the farewell tours from classic rock bands, and they don't keep their word. So people don't buy that Motley Crue is going to call it quits. And apparently they signed a contract with a bunch of attorneys, yada, yada, yada. Make it official. It's not going to happen. We wrote a document. We're going to stick by it. 4, 5, 6 years later, they come out of retirement. They went on stage. They burned the documents. What documents? We never signed anything. So that happened. They announced a massive U.S. tour with Def Leppard and Poison and Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. And then the pandemic happened. Things got pushed back even more. And then here it is, 2022, and the bands, Def Leppard and Motley Crue, went out and did the massive stadium tour across the U.S. But that being said here, folks, 41 plus years Mick Mars has been part of Motley Crue since the very beginning. Listeners that doesn't know anything about Motley Crue, look, they started back in the early the early 1980s. And yes, these are the 4 original members of Motley Crue. Vince Neil on vocals, Mick Mars on guitar, Nikki Sixx on bass, and Tommy Lee on drums. Now, a little trivia for you, the listeners. If you have any knowledge of Motley Crue, there's only 2 members that's been there since the very beginning to now. And then the other 2, at some point in the Motley Crue history, left Motley Crue for quite a bit of a time. Which pairs stuck around and which pairs actually left Motley Crue in the 41 years of Motley Crue history? I'll give you a couple minutes. Let me know what you think. Now, there's probably hardcore Motley Crue fans like myself knows the answer. Now, if you figure it out yet, since the very beginning, when Motley Crue started, 2 guys that's been there since the beginning to now are Nikki Sixx and Mick Mars. That's right. Now, the 2 gentlemen that's been part of Motley Crue since the beginning, but also kind of dipped out in certain periods. For example, Vince Neil left Motley Crue in the early 90s, went out to do his own solo thing. John Corabi replaced Vince Neil in Motley Crue, which is a hell of a singer, great guy. Had the pleasure of seeing John Corabi and the Dead Daisies a couple years ago. And then Tommy Lee, yeah, he left Motley Crue in the late 90s, was replaced by the late great Randy Castillo, hell of a drummer. And then a chick, I believe her name is Sam. I have to check it out, but she was another fill-in behind the drum kit for Motley Crue. Eventually, they had a reunion in the early 2000s with the 4 original members. Obviously, they'd done the Carnival Sins tour, they'd done Crue Fest, and yada, yada, yada. So Mick Mars, he's been dealing with this ankylosing spondylitis, a disease he's been dealing with decades at a very young age. And when fans think about it, Mick Mars was still the oldest member in the band, even in the early 80s. So Mick was probably either in his 30s, late 30s, early 40s, and the rest of the guys were 20 years younger. I could be wrong, but Mick is 71 years old, as of today. And the rest of the members are probably in their late 50s, early 60s. And Mick's been dealing with this disease exactly alone for decades, as I mentioned. And it gets tougher and tougher for him at the age he's at to go on stage, on tour, across America. And it's putting a major challenge with his health. So now he made the decision to step down. Again, me personally, just want to say thank you, Mick Mars, for doing this for 41 years. Incredible career, a hell of a ride with Motley Crue. And I had the pleasure of seeing him many, many times in the past with Motley. One of the greats. He is the key of the Motley Crue's engine. And I tell you, he's going to be missed. He's going to be missed. I'm pretty sure he's not done with music. I know he had his own solo blues album he wants to do. So touring might be on a halt, but so I'm pretty sure you can't rule out a one-off appearance here and there, right? So now John 5 will be officially joining the Motley Crue on tour across the world. If you haven't checked out John 5, go on YouTube right now. He is a hell of a guitarist. I mean, that guy can play anything. I mean, from country to, Spanish type of guitar influence from Spain. The guy could play 80s pop like Michael Jackson. I mean, that guy could play anything. And he is a great, talented musician. I was lucky enough to see him many times with Rob Zombie and actually see his live solo band, which is just out of this world. So Motley Crue got a awesome pickup from a great guitarist. So it's going to be interesting to see how this tour is going to go with all four members. But nonetheless, it's going to be awesome to see John 5 rocking it out with Motley Crue. All right, speaking of retiring, remember a couple episodes ago we talked about Ivan Moody, the frontman from Five Finger Death Punch. Remember he was planning on quitting from Five Finger? Well, apparently he decided that, hey, you know what? I was wrong. I'm not retiring. I'm not going anywhere. Yeah, that's what Ivan Moody said. He apologized, and he's not going anywhere. So if you're a fan of Five Finger Death Punch, and, guess you're happy, right? For the fans on social media, it's, yeah, don't look in the comment section. All right, what else is going on in the world of rock and roll? Hey, speaking of Iron Maiden, yeah, they're going to be going on tour in 2023, mainly in Europe. And this tour will be called the Past of the Future Tour. And apparently, Ron Smallwood, the manager of the band, told press that the band will continue on with this tour in 2024. So could they come back in the United States in 2 years? Possibly. Speaking of lead singer of Iron Maiden, Bruce Dickinson, obviously he's been putting fans on blast lately. There was a fan smoking weed in the front row. He called them out. There were fans texting in the front row during the concert. He will call them out. So Bruce is not afraid of calling people out when he sees it on stage. So you got to be careful when you're at an Iron Maiden's concert. Just have a good time. Just don't be stupid. And Bruce sees you do something stupid, he's going to call you out and humiliate you, not in front of the whole arena, but they're going to get that one person that's going to film the altercation, and it'll be on the internet before you know it. But few rock stars called out Bruce Dickinson, starting with Jamie Josta, the frontman from Hatebreed. He's like, come on, bro. Just let fans be fans. Let them smoke weed. And now you got Dez Fafara, the frontman from Devil. He even put his own 2 cents. And all right, so what other news going on in the world of rock and roll? Fear Factory is in pre-production for the new studio album. It should be coming out hopefully pretty soon. Chicago's very own Chevelle has 7 songs written for the next studio album as well. So they're just going out for that. Deftones frontman Chino Moreno has The Crosses announces. So I guess he had his own side project. And he got a new EP called Permanent Radiance. So go check it out if you're a Hailstorm fan. Also, former Journey singer Steve Perry releases first ever holiday original, maybe this year. So good stuff. You're a big fan of the voice of the former Journey singer Steve Perry. And some good news. Nightwish singer breast cancer surgery went well. So as the month of October is wrapping up for the breast cancer awareness, Nightwish front woman Flora Jansen has undergone surgery to have a tumor removed after recently being diagnosed with breast cancer. So she is 41 years old, a Dutch-born singer. She did her follow-up social media post, and apparently everything went well. So very good news. Also, the band Avatar announces Dance Devil Dance album and shares the title track. Let's check it out. I'm a big fan of Avatar. Great band from Sweden. And looks like this record's going to be coming out. Looking at the press release here for... Let's see. So they have Dance Devil Dance on February 17th. It's coming from the 30 Tigers Records. So, yeah, man, if you're looking forward to the new Avatar, will be out in February 2023. All right, let's talk about Pantera. Yeah, they'll be going down to Mexico in the first week of December. Their very first reunion celebration tour. Phil Semos on vocals. Rex Brown on bass. The great Zach Wilde at guitar. And Anthrax, Charlie Belladante playing behind the drums. Well, apparently they had a concert. It's going down in Santiago, Chile. Originally scheduled for December 13th. The capacity at the Teatro Cacapallacian, I assume it's like a theater, it's 5,400. Apparently it's been moved to December 12th at the Movie Star Arena, which is a 17,000 seater. So, yeah, the major upgrade. More tickets will be available as soon as now. And they added a opening act. Can you take a guess on who's the opening band for Pantera on a massive arena show? Well, Brazil's very own Sepultura. Yes, the great band of Sepultura. Man, opening up for Pantera in Santiago, Chile. Again, that place packed out the 5,400-seater theater, I guess. They're moved into a massive arena that's 17,000. Hopefully, they'll be able to sell it out. And, yeah, if you're going to be happening to be living down in Mexico, December 2nd, the Hell in Heaven Metal Festival. That's the very first show of the Pantera Reunion Celebration Show. December 6th, you're going to get Monterrey, Mexico for the Monterrey Metal Festival. December 9th, Bogota, Colombia for the Knotfest Colombia. December 11th, the Santiago, Chile for the Knotfest Chile. As I mentioned, December 12th, the headlining show at the Movie Star Arena in Chile. And then they're going to do the headlining show with Judas Priest in Brazil, December 15th. And you got Knotfest Brazil on December 18th. So, yeah, Mexico and South America. Here's your chance to see the Pantera reunion celebration. And, man, when they hit the U.S., tickets are going to be flying. I guarantee you that. You know my rear end will be there front and center for this awesome reunion celebration tour. Again, everybody has their own opinions. There's fans like myself that have never seen Pantera back in the heyday. So this is my opportunity to at least experience this great moment, history. And there's fans who've seen Pantera back in the day, and they want that last image in their head as the very last time they seen them, and they refuse to see this reunion/celebration tour. I totally get it and respect it. But for me personally, haven't seen Pantera. Again, I was lucky enough to see Vinnie Paul, and hell yeah, a couple times in the past before his passing, rest in peace. Never seen Dimebags, so at least this is my opportunity to get somewhat close of the music of Pantera, celebrating the life of Vinnie Paul and Dimebags. So good stuff all around. All right, that wraps up the riffs portion of the show. Let's head on to the body slam portion of the show where I talk about all things pro wrestling and the CM Punk drama and more. All right, welcome to the body slam portion of the show where I talk about all things pro wrestling. So before I talk about the whole CM Punk drama, let's talk about news, shall we? So AEW news, Jon Moxley will face Lee Moriarty for the World Title Eliminator match set for All Elite Wrestling Dynamite this Wednesday. So there's that going down. Dante Martin, Ethan Page, part of the AEW World Title Eliminator Tournament. Roman Reigns is a set an appearance for next Monday Night Raw. Also, WWE has announced the no DQ disqualification match added to next Friday night SmackDown between Liv Morgan and Sonya Deville. That's going down for that. Also, Gunther will defend the Intercontinental Champion against Rey Mysterio next Friday. Also, next Saturday will be WWE's Crown Jewels going down, with SmackDown being in St. Louis, which is being taped. Obviously, SmackDown's on November 4th. And try to fly guys from St. Louis to Saudi Arabia is just impossible one day. So obviously they're going to tape SmackDown, and they're going to have Crown Jewels on November 5th. By the way, have you kept up with the drama between the Good Brothers and New Japan? So apparently New Japan announced their next big show, and which is on November 5th. And Carl Anderson was supposed to put his never openweight champion on the line against Hikuleo on November 5th in Japan. Well, apparently WWE booked a match between the Good Brothers against Finn Balor and the Judgment Day in Saudi Arabia. So obviously it's impossible to have the Good Brothers in two different countries in one day. So right now they're doing a back and forth feud between New Japan and Dak Gallows and Carl Anderson. So apparently the original video that the Good Brothers put out stating that, hey, New Japan, you guys never talked to us at first. Second, we're double booked on the same day. And number 3, I will defend the never open weight title on my time, as Carl Anderson stated in the video that was posted on social media. So New Japan responded in a press release stating that, hey, we promise the fans that this match will happen, and we're going to give that match. So you better get your rear end in Japan and defend the never open weight champion. And if you don't, you better relinquish it, and you better send it to us right now. And apparently the Good Brothers responded stating, we ain't giving nothing up. my time, my terms. So we'll have to wait and see if anything changes, or there are going to be some lawsuits between New Japan and WWE. So we'll kind of keep tabs on that. Speaking of WWE Crown Jewels, they announced 2 new title matches going down Saturday, November 5th on the Peacock Network. So apparently it's going to be Jimmy Uso and Jey Uso will defend the undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions against Ridge Holland and Butch of the Brawling Brutes. Also added in Crown Jewels, Bianca Belair will defend the Raw's Women's Championship against Bayley of Damage Control and the last woman standing match. By the way, Nikki Cross made her return back as Nikki Cross. She's no longer the superhero she once was a couple months ago. Speaking of another return, Tenille Dashwood, a.k.a. Emma, made a return back to SmackDown this past Friday. A little spoiler alert, if you haven't watched SmackDown, she came out for the Ronda Rousey's Open Challenge. Also, another spoiler alert, Mike Tyson will be doing commentary for an AEW Rampage for next Friday's Rampage, so that's big news right there. Jakara Jackson to debut on WWE NXT Level Up. That's coming up. Speaking of debuts at NXT, The Rock's daughter, Simone, she made her debut as well as Ava Raine. NXT viewership was up this past Wednesday from the Halloween Havoc Fallout. Apparently, they had a 5.9% from last week's episode, which is the 4th largest audience for NXT. A total of 716,000 viewers for NXT. So how about that? And speaking of viewerships, also talking about All Elite Wrestling Dynamite, I'm going to go ahead and pull that up right now. Let's check out the results. So AEW Dynamite ratings slightly shy above 1 million. Or not above, actually shy under 1 million. So the total numbers from this past Wednesday was 997,000 viewers. So they were getting close to the million, but they fell short. Either way, they were up 32.6% from last week's episode. Obviously, that big dip from last week's episode of Dynamite is because of the move to Tuesday night, just for the temporary Tuesday night, due to, I believe, the playoffs of baseball or the opening of basketball. Either one, but it definitely made a big effective wave on the numbers on viewerships from last week. But they managed to try to get up to close to 1 million, but not enough to get to it for this week. But there's your numbers for All Elite Wrestling Dynamite's viewerships. All right. Also, in New Japan Pro Wrestling news, the New Japan Pro Wrestling Rumble on the 44th Street. Kind of give you the quick results really quick. That's going down over there in New York City. So here we go, really quick. Sho and Yujiro Takahashi defeated Yo and Rocky Romero. Also, the strong upperweight tag team titles, the Motor City Machine Guns defeated Aussie Open. Kevin Knight and the DKC. Also, the strong upperweight champion Fred Rosser defeated Jonathan Gresham. Shota Umino, Wheeler Yuta, and Homicide defeated Team Filthy, which is Tom Lawler, Jorel Nelson, and Royce Isaac. Also, Minoru Suzuki defeated Clark Connors. SWA World Champion Muya Itawani defeated Kylie King. And then there is the New York Street Fight for the KOPW, King of Pro Wrestling 2022 trophy. Shingo Tagachi defeated El Phantasmo. And then you had Jay White and Juice Robinson defeated Kushka Okada and Eddie Kingston. So how about that? And speaking of Juice Robinson, he is signed with All Elite Wrestling. So that's good news for the Juice wrestling fans out there. All right, so let's talk about the drama of CM Punk. So it started with a report, as I mentioned last episode, about the buyout. Apparently, it was reported of Tony Khan purchasing the remaining of CM Punk's remaining contract for the year. But apparently, they're going to hold on to him, a no-compete, just in case he decided to jump ships to the WWE. Not like he would, but it's better to be safe and make sure he doesn't pull anything and hop onto the WWE wagon, possibly bury AEW. That's something you don't want to have, but again, they're doing all their power to make sure he doesn't compete. So that being said, there was a story that was being reported, either Fightful Select or the Wrestling Observer. I mean, it's everywhere. Reportedly that Larry the Dog, yes, CM Punk Dog, was apparently injured in the altercation after All Out. Backstage, it was reported that the Young Bucks pushed the door open, accidentally hit the dog. Apparently, the dog broke his tooth, and it was required surgery a couple of days later. But apparently, the Elite camp are accusing CM Punk camp that this whole story was fake. It was all made up. It's not true. So, yeah, it was getting a little weird. But if this story actually happened, shame on the Elite for doing that. I'm again a pet owner, pet lover. It's disgusting to see that happen. But this story is made up. Again, who am I to judge? Because I don't know. I wasn't there. But if this was made up, yeah, I got nothing else to say for it. But kind of continue on for this little altercation news. So it's been reported from the Wrestling Observer, Dave Meltzer. Apparently there were some few top people behind the scenes had some negative feelings about CM Punk. A few names were mentioned, was Chris Jericho being one of the major names, but he was the top key people, saying that they couldn't work with CM Punk. Apparently there was another top star in AEW saying that Punk won't be back. His value on screen isn't 1% worth the hassle. And, the black cloud he causes backstage. Also, there's another report stating that he is a cancer to the locker room and a detriment to the company. Yikes, man. These are just very hard to read, coming from allegedly behind the scenes. So, apparently, as I mentioned about CM Punk's dog getting injured from the Elite, apparently the Elite camp, apparently there is a official, I'm not sure it's official, but it's coming off the Wrestling Observer. And I quote, okay, this is apparently coming from the Elite's camp. And I quote, "A completely made up story," said one person regarding the story. CM Punk's losing, obviously the investigation results, and is desperate. There was a multiple weeks long investigation, and this was oddly not discovered. It so happened to be mentioned in the moment there was news about the Bucks and Omega possibly coming back. It's a saying that people will even humor this. So apparently this person is stating in this little statement that, and I quote, "The dog story is a complete lie," said a neutral party who was in the locker room seconds after the incident occurred. When the altercation was happening, Punk was a total psycho. Kenny picked the dog up to save him from being hurt and gave him to Omega, apparently one of the legal representatives in AEW. Mega was holding the dog, screaming at Punk to stop. Punk didn't even register to that his baby was being held by a stranger in the middle of a fight, and it didn't stop him one bit. So, interesting story coming from behind the scenes of All Elite Wrestling. And man, it is getting wild. It's getting crazy. And if you've been watching All Elite Wrestling Dynamite within the past week or two, obviously last week, the commentary team pretty much said the Elite on air. First time the Elite has been mentioned on live television. Now, this past Wednesday Dynamite shows a cryptic vignette of the Young Bucks, but they were disappearing on the screen like Thanos from the Avengers. So interesting. Are they coming back to wrestle? Are they coming back to announce that they're no longer EVPs? Are they coming back to state to tell the world that they're stepping away from pro wrestling? The way they're portraying these cryptic messages, reminding the fans that they created this company, but their images were disappearing. So, wrestling fans, keep your eyes peeled the next couple of weeks to see where this will lead to. Could this lead to Full Gear, the next AEW pay-per-view in a couple of weeks, going down in November? Well, we'll have to wait and see where this will lead to. Speaking of mysteries, I know NXT got a cryptic videos going on down in NXT. Well, WWE SmackDown has just revealed Uncle Howdy, the creepy man behind either the mask or whatever the hell he is, trying to control Bray Wyatt. Fans are speculating that Mr. Howdy is the father, Mr. Wyndham himself, the father of Bray Wyatt, is going to be involved in a storyline possibly. So, Mr. IRS himself. So, a lot of pro wrestling cryptics going on across the industry. So, a lot of mystery, a lot of clues to solve, but hey, it's good, right? It's pro wrestling. Alrighty. Well, that concludes episode number 56 of Riffs and Body Slams. If there's anything I'm missing out, there's anything in the world of rock, heavy metal, pro wrestling that's topical that you want to talk about as well. Again, on my socials, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Riffs and Body Slams, or send me an email, riffsandbodyslams@gmail.com. Send me your thoughts, opinions, critiques, criticisms, whatever it is. I'd love to have a chat with you. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy, support local, as always. And I will talk to you guys for episode number 57 next week. So till then, my friends, take care and bye-bye.